Big crowds bring out plenty of police. What's attracting different protest groups to Public Square and beyond tonight? From Donald Trump's former opponents to a well-known athlete, the big name speaking on his behalf this evening. Hi, Betsy.
Hi there, Jimmy. Well, we've seen plenty of sunshine today. Temperatures were a little cooler, but the heat is building for a late week. I've got the latest in your forecast.
Plus, disrespecting Ohio, the reason our state's delegates and governor are not feeling the love, even in a hometown convention.
From the station that sees the possible, this is Channel 3 News. Brought to you by Universal Windows Direct. You'll be saying, I love my windows. And now, Channel 3 News.
Well, just like last night, it's the same tonight. All eyes are on Cleveland. It is a busy city right now, and it's under tight security, too. And unlike yesterday, tensions are rising in downtown Cleveland. Here in the convention hall at the Q, Quicken Loans Arena, delegates right now are in the process of a roll call. And once that is accomplished, Donald Trump will officially be the Republican nominee, no longer the presumptive nominee. He'll be the man. He's then expected to accept the nomination, you bet he will, on Thursday night. And we'll have more on that coming up shortly. But right now, we are following demonstrations going on in Public Square and throughout downtown Cleveland. Public Square looks a lot different right now than it did a couple of hours ago. As a matter of fact, it is clearing out. Channel 3's Alyssa Raymond is live with the protest groups coming up this evening. Hi, Alyssa.
Hi, Jimmy. We have a very different atmosphere out here on Euclid Avenue now than it was about an hour ago. We have this Columbus Bike Patrol team down here, but they were joined with Ohio State Highway Patrol as well as Kansas Highway Patrol. But what happened was around 5:30 is when we left Public Square. We marched down Euclid Avenue with a group of protesters, Black Lives Matter supporters, all the way down to Public Square, and that's, or Playhouse Square rather, and that's where we stopped. And the police bike patrols kind of formed a line around them to stop them from going towards the highway and turn them back around to head back down Euclid Avenue. And then they stopped for a long period of time right in the intersection of 9th and Euclid Avenue. And this is where tensions rose slightly. There were a whole bunch of police presence in there because they were concerned again about that secure perimeter. The barricades that were put up for the shuttle service is right in line on 9th Street, and they were concerned that the protesters would actually come into that barricaded secure zone there. But they were able to hold them off, have them in that intersection, which they stayed for about 30 minutes. Some of those protesters went down 9th Street. Others continued back down Euclid towards Public Square. Others headed back into Park Plaza. So as you could get a sense that there was a dispersion there and that order was restored, and officers went around. They're just smiling now back to order and not as that tense situation that they were feeling for about 30 minutes there at the intersection right where Heinen's is. So we're going to continue to monitor this throughout the 7 o'clock hour, and we'll bring you any updates we have. Reporting live in downtown Cleveland, Alyssa Raymond, Channel 3 News.
Alyssa, thanks very much. Now, Donald Trump's nomination isn't the only thing to watch for tonight on night two. From influential Republican leaders to former presidential campaign opponents, notable speakers will take to the stage. Channel 3's CHRISTIE walks us through who to expect and what to expect from them on night number two. Hi, Chris. I'm going to throw a golf phrase at you, all right? Is this kind of a mulligan night for the Republicans?
It may be a bogey night if you're Ted Cruz, a double bogey night if you're John Kasich, but it's a birdie if you're Donald Trump. In fact, Jimmy, he's just about to make the putt because in a few moments, Donald Trump is going to reach that threshold we talked about for so many months, the 1,237 delegates needed. Right now, he's at 1048, so we're keeping a close eye behind us. The state of New York, his home state, will be the state that officially puts him over the edge. They'll kind of go out of order. They're going alphabetically quickly down the states. Once they're getting to that 1237, they'll let New York put them over the edge. All right, let's talk about who will be speaking here tonight, because that's important too. And among those who are here already on stage is Speaker of the House Paul Ryan. He is the one who each of these delegates address. Mr. Speaker, with our 28 votes. And the Speaker, of course, is Paul Ryan. He's in the House. Also here is a man who we thought was one of the final three for the Donald Trump vice presidential spot, Chris Christie, the governor of New Jersey. We did not see him speak earlier when the New Jersey delegation was announcing who they were going to put their weight behind, but Chris Christie will be on stage tonight. Also on stage this evening, a man who shared the stage with Donald Trump earlier in this election cycle, Dr. Ben Carson will be here. He's, of course, that neurosurgeon who made a lot of news and peaked in some of those polls back in the fall and winter months. Then there's a golfer. Speaking of golfing terms, I'm now realizing Jim Donovan's savvy ways. NATALIE GULBIS is from the state of California. She hosts a program on Sports Time Ohio with our friend Jimmy Hamlin. She is a devout Donald Trump fan, and she will also be speaking to this crowd this evening. There's a couple of other storylines that are forming tonight. As you know, Fox News is very much in line with the Republican Party, at least according to many observations. And the head of Fox News, Roger Ailes, has now officially, we have been told by Variety magazine, been moved off of his duties. He will be leaving as the boss of Fox News. More on that as we get it. And then, Jim, as you know, last night it was Make America Safe Again was the theme here in this hall. And we learned today that a Kansas City police officer was shot and killed while on duty. I want to take you here behind me because the state of Ohio is right now casting their 66 delegates. And you can see right here that the votes went to Governor John Kasich. The state of Ohio, the only state that Governor Kasich won. And this is meaningful because, of course, it does not put any more votes in the Donald Trump column, but it does put votes in the Ohio column for John Kasich. So, again, this is not going to put Donald Trump over the edge, but it is our own. Let's watch that happen. All right, well, we just moved from Ohio to Oklahoma. The alphabet just kind of keeps on rolling. But again, we'll keep an eye on this throughout the half hour, Jimmy. The floor is very fluid, and we're waiting for that moment, which could be at any time now, that Donald Trump secures the nomination. And then, of course, on Thursday, he will accept it. Jim, back up to you.
You know, I was just kind of wondering, and you're down on the floor, I was wondering what kind of reception the Ohio delegation would get because of John Kasich's position of not participating in this convention within the hall anyway, certainly around Cleveland. But the other thing, then, of course, they went to the microphone and did their due diligence and cast those 66 votes for Kasich because he won the primary, but it was kind of lukewarm, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. To be honest with you, I was speaking to you for most of it, so I missed the tone and tenor of it. But I can tell you that the fact that they put all 66 behind Kasich is a reflection of the same rules committee that we've been talking about so much, which is to say Ohio's delegation had to vote for the person that Ohio voted for, and that was John Kasich. In the same way that a lot of other states, most notably Colorado, wanted to defect from that school of thought and really just kind of vote for who their conscience dictated. But, of course, the rules committee last week and the full body here just a few days ago said, indeed, you have to vote for whom the voters sent you here to vote.
All right, Chris, thanks very much. When they go to New York, that will be to put Donald Trump over the top, and then he'll gain the nomination officially. Now let's go back to John Kasich, okay? A late afternoon party for Ohio's governor was at the Rock Hall, and it should be wrapping up. The governor did not make any mention of Donald Trump, nor did he insult his campaign. Senior political correspondent Tom Barris explains that Kasich is staying on the high ground, huh, Tom?
Yeah, Jim, Governor Kasich is probably getting as much publicity now as he would have gotten if he'd endorsed Trump and gone to the convention. His event this afternoon showed why Trump should want his support.
The governor of the great state of Ohio.
Maybe just a coincidence, but some thought Governor Kasich's escalator ride arrival at the Rock Hall could be a jab at Donald Trump's escalator grand entrance to announce his campaign. Kasich's message to a wall-to-wall crowd of Ohio delegates and supporters stayed on higher ground, ignoring Trump.
And the things that you want to do have to come from your soul. They have to come from your heart. They have to come from your brain. And they don't come from polling or calculations or statistics.
Ohio Republicans smarting from Trump's campaign chief blasting Kasich on Monday talk shows.
He's making a big mistake. He's looking at something that's not going to happen. He's hurting his state. He's embarrassing his state, frankly.
Trump certainly knows no Republican has won the White House without winning Ohio.
The governor is a great patriot. I think he needs to reach out to him. That's what Trump has to do.
Kasich's campaign strategist said he'll use what he learned on the campaign trail as governor and work for other Republicans. So in the walk-off message to an adoring crowd of supporters,
believe that standing on principle and having ethics and integrity can make a huge deal. You don't have to apply for sainthood. Just do the very best you can.
It was completely Trump-free.
So, Jim, Ohio's delegation and Governor Kasich not on the same page with Donald Trump tonight. You know, I don't know whether or not there's going to be one of those roll calls or calls for a unanimous vocal acclamation, but obviously if there is, doubtful Ohioans would join it. Jim.
Tom, let me ask you this, and I do believe there will be an announcement here soon once he's over the top for a unanimous vote on this. But let's go back to this. Let's go back to bad blood between Kasich and Donald Trump. And if in November he becomes president, Donald Trump, are there any repercussions coming back to Ohio because of bad blood?
Well, you have to really look long range into the crystal ball, but you do have to wonder what happens if Trump becomes President Trump and there is some discretionary decision about what Ohio projects or issues should get priority. But again, that's an awful lot of what if in there. It's a pure speculation for now.
Tom, thanks very much. Okay, more on the bad blood. In other words, where is the love? It's a question that Ohioans are asking tonight after some gaffes by GOP visitors. Channel 3's Andrew Horansky is live, and he's live downtown to explain what some are seeing as signs of disrespect for the host state. What's this all about, Andrew?
Hi, Jimmy. Well, where's the love? Where's the RESPECT? You could say in another way of putting it. But, you know, the city here has rolled out the red carpet for its visitors, but not everyone has been such a great guest. Here's why. Weak seats at the queue, tough words for the governor, and a terrible towel to boot, all causing those who are from here to wonder what's going on. Some Ohio delegates have said they have felt like the most hated ones here by how they've been treated by delegates from other states and by their seating at the queue. Not front and center, which is more typical of home state delegates, but to the side. Today, the irritation boiled over with the state's Republican chairman responding to Trump's campaign manager, who recently called Governor John Kasich both petulant and embarrassing for not being supportive enough of Trump.
If he keeps criticizing John Kasich in Ohio, he's going to lose. He needs to run a better, smarter campaign, and I'm hoping that they're getting that message.
Then there was this, the terrible towel moment, with the House Speaker waving this to a crowd of Pennsylvania delegates. Tonight, Ohioans are bracing for whatever may be next. Just because it's a convention, Jimmy, it doesn't mean everyone gets along. Back to you.
All right, thanks very much, Andrew. Inside the convention hall, it is official now. Donald Trump is indeed the nominee for the Republican Party. He was just put over the top by his home state of New York. And here it is, his daughter, his son, down at the microphone. The New York delegation took him over the top. Let's listen in to the reaction.
Pursuant to the announcement of the delegation and the rules of this convention, New York, 6 votes Kasich, 89 votes Donald J. Trump.
No, you're not at Yankee Stadium after the Yankees win in the 9th inning when they play Sinatra's New York, New York. You're in downtown Cleveland, and you're watching history being made tonight. Imagine not a professional politician. He is now the nominee. Donald J. Trump has gone all the way, eliminating 16 others during the tough primary season, the brutal debate season, and now here in Cleveland, Ohio, his home state of New York puts him over the top. He is the Republican nominee for President of the United States. And on Thursday night, he'll address this convention to accept the nomination. So there you have it. From the convention floor, his daughter Ivanka walking to the front of the stage. Over the top, that says it all. 1,237 was always the magic number that you needed to get to. He got there after a long, winding trail, which started in Iowa, where he was defeated, but then weeks later, the momentum started in New Hampshire, and then it continued on through Super Tuesday. And then the momentum could not be stopped, and he could not be stopped. His son, who will speak here tonight, doing an interview with one of the national media outlets. Teachers for Trump, and at least right now in this hall, everybody for Donald Trump as the celebration continues. That slogan that you always saw on that red baseball cap that he wore throughout, Make America Great Again, that's been the theme. That theme registered with many, many voters on the Republican side that said, listen, maybe we need another alternative here. Maybe we need to get away from the professional politicians and go with a businessman who can make America great, and a guy with a great fire in his belly. We've seen that throughout the campaign. And now Donald Trump, officially no longer the presumptive nominee of the Republican Party, he is officially the Republican nominee for President of the United States. So that is the celebration, and you saw it right here on Channel 3 News live at 7. And when we come back, coincidence or plagiarism? The similarities between Melania Trump's speech and one from 8 years ago in Denver, and what Trump's campaign is saying about that controversy. Plus, going social, the unique setup for outlets like Facebook sharing their RNC message in a fresh new way. We'll be right back. Channel 3 News continues live here from the Republican National Convention. And once again, as we left you with a big moment. Donald Trump has gone over the top now as the roll call went to the state of New York, his home state, and they put him over the top with 89 votes cast. 1,237 was the magic number. He is now the nominee of the Republican Party. But we'll go back to last night, because in the meantime, Russ and Sarah join me right now to talk about the speech by Melania Trump last night. Yeah. That the message is, a lot of us think we heard it before.
Yeah, certainly. A lot of concern about that today, Jimmy. By now, the world has noticed all of the similarities between her speech last night and a speech that now First Lady Michelle Obama gave back in 2008.
NBC's Tracy Potts walks us through the sections that some consider plagiarism and the Trump campaign's response to all this.
Their words are undeniably similar.
That you work hard for what you want in life. That your word is your bond.
You work hard for what you want in life. That your word is your bond.
The only limit to your achievements is the strength of your dreams.
The only limit to the height of your achievements is the reach of your dreams.
Trump's campaign chair denies any wrongdoing and blames Hillary Clinton.
It's just another example, as far as we're concerned, that when Hillary Clinton is threatened by a female, the first thing she does is try to destroy the person.
CHRISTIE also coming to her defense today.
93% of the speech is completely different.
But Trump's co-chair calls it a mistake. And RNC chair Reince Priebus praised the speech, but says he'd probably fire her speechwriter. The campaign says a team of writers worked on this speech. Mrs. Trump says she wrote it.
I wrote it, and with a little help as possible.
All that as Donald Trump prepares to be officially nominated today.
The ayes have it.
Despite an uprising Monday by anti-Trump delegates, the vote is set for tonight. Then speeches focusing on the economy, including CHRISTIE, Ben Carson, Washington's top 2 Republicans, and 2 of Trump's children. Tracy Potts, NBC News, Washington.
Monica says, my daughter would have failed a book report with this type of plagiarism.
Lamont says, here's how you settle this. Take both speeches and run it through the software that high school teachers and college professors use to see if a paper is plagiarized. Didn't know they could do that. The result will end the discussion.
Yeah, it's all automated now. But Marilyn says, come on, how many ways can you say the same thing? Michelle Obama's speech probably sounded like many wives before her. Why does everyone have to keep finding fault with every little thing? Ease up. And there are some conversations about that today happening on social media as well. Some people comparing the speech to Elizabeth Dole years before Michelle Obama gave it. You know,
yeah.
Who knows what the answer is.
I wonder if the
here,
story's going to
Jimmy.
have legs as we move forward.
That's right.
Well, I think they would like it to go away tonight, don't you think?
Oh,
I mean, really.
They would definitely like it to go away
They
tonight.
probably
Yes.
wanted it to go away this morning and as the afternoon went along. We'll see you both a little bit later on.
Thanks, Jimmy.
When we come back, hundreds of police animals are right here at the Republican National Convention. They're working 24/7. The unique way Cleveland is making sure they all stay healthy throughout the convention. Plus, the weather has been picture perfect so far for the convention, and we'll ask Betsy, will it continue? As we continue after this. Welcome back. It's been quite a night, too, so far, and it's just getting going. Cleveland is definitely impressing visitors, and not just with its looks. Local health centers have mobile units across town to take care of our visitors. And senior health correspondent Monica Robbins introduces us to some local veterinarians on call for any of the 200 dogs or 40 horses who are working hard here at the RNC.
Capitol Police technician Nunn and Quest are sniffing out potential explosives at the RNC. She's one of 200 police dogs with paws on the ground, and 4 local veterinary practices are on call for their medical needs.
But I'm worried about cut paws, tear gas. I've been through that. You know, God knows if there's a riot and the dogs get hurt, okay, and if bullets start flying, we got to have the team in place. So basically that's what the veterinary community around Cleveland has done.
One concern they face is heat. Temps expected to rise into the 90s this week. Many handlers have emergency fans in their canine cars ready to cool off the dogs.
It could be an issue, but you know, their trainers, their handlers are extremely good at what they do, and so they'll keep an eye on that. I'm sure they'll keep them well hydrated, but I mean, it's certainly a risk.
Out of 200, Quest is the only one who needed veterinary care for a minor infection. She was in and out of West Park and now back to work, accepting a little scratch on her break. Monica Robbins, Channel 3 News.
Monica, thank you very much, and good work done by all of those animals that are here in Cleveland for the RNC. I mean, think about that. Betsy's here with the weather right now, and may I just say, Betsy Kling, that was great to see you alongside Al Roker earlier tonight.
Yeah,
what a thrill to see him back here.
It's one of those things like, you know, when you're a kid and you're watching and then it actually happens and you get to stand next to him and he's giving you hugs. I mean, it was really neat. So yeah, it was great to have Al back here in the studio, and he took over. He did weather, picked it up, went with it just like the old days. So certainly it looks like the weather has been cooperating for all of us as all these big plans are going on in downtown Cleveland and beyond. Clear skies to continue as we head through 8 o'clock, and then even as we head through the midnight hour. We'll find the temperatures fading back from the 70s into the 60s. I think it'll be a little bit cooler tomorrow morning, but lakeshore areas, we're going to hold on to this humidity. We have temperature right now 77 downtown Cleveland, still steamy 87 in Dover at this hour. Dew point at the airport is down to 59, so it's baby stepping down into more comfortable territory. Mostly sunny skies continue for us here in Northeast Ohio, and the big picture shows our big problem that is building here in the central part of the country. You can kind of see how all the showers and thunderstorms are being slung around a central point. That central point is a big bubble of hot air that is building, and that bubble of hot air basically will lock us in with the hot temperatures in your Window Nation forecast. Mid-80s for the day tomorrow, and then partly cloudy skies expected for Thursday. Late Thursday, we could have some thunderstorms that make their way to us, but we're going to hold on to low to even mid-90s Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Humidity will be up there, very hot temperatures in play, and scattered shower and thunderstorm chances will be with us as well, especially later in the day on Friday. And then once we get into Saturday and Sunday, we're going to have to kind of monitor the situation to see what we would inherit from areas farther to the northwest. By Monday, we're going to be back into the mid-80s, but the heat really doesn't break down too much. We'll be right back into the upper 80s with mostly sunny skies on Tuesday. Jimmy?
All right, thanks, Betsy. And when we come back, coming up, two speeches, very similar phrases. What are the chances that Melania Trump's speech was coincidentally just like the current First Lady's from 8 years ago? We'll break down the numbers with a statistician next. Welcome back. Channel 3 News at 7 continues, coming to you live from the Quicken Loans Arena. The roll call is going on. Just to headline what has happened, 15, 20 minutes ago, Donald Trump was put over the top by his home state of New York, and he is now definitely officially the nominee for the Republican Party for the presidential race. Now, Donald is not the only Trump getting attention this week. His wife Melania's speech, of course, raised plenty of eyebrows because of its similarities to a speech by Michelle Obama from 8 years ago in Denver. Frank Mickens finds out the probability of a string of words appearing in the same sentence in two different speeches.
Here we are on the streets of Cleveland, where a lot of the talk coming out of the convention here last night has to do with Melania Trump's speech, which was strikingly similar to Michelle Obama's speech she gave at the 2008 Democratic National Convention. And here you are looking at 23 words in a row. Exactly the same script from Melania Trump's speech to Michelle Obama's speech last night. Exactly the same. So today we're asking the question, what is the probability that 23 words are spoken by two different people 8 years apart? We decided to call an expert, a statistician in North Carolina, to explain how do you even come up with that number?
Well, I don't think it's something you could easily calculate.
So overall, this sounds to be even too complex to compute. Is that what you're saying?
It's impossible, I would say, to attach an even remotely accurate number to that. It's basically impossible to calculate.
The Trump campaign is standing behind Melania Trump. They say, quote, in writing her beautiful speech, Melania's team of writers took notes on her life's inspirations and in some instances included fragments that reflected her own thinking. But there are conflicting reports that indicate the words that Mrs. Trump wrote were not her own. The Trump campaign is sticking by this. They say it is by no means plagiarism. Looking at the math, it seems nearly impossible to explain. In Cleveland, I'm Frank Mickens.
Frank, thanks very much. Now, what kind of a setback is Melania's Trump's speech for his campaign against Hillary Clinton? Few are more plugged in than Chuck Todd, moderator of Meet the Press. He spoke with our Chris Tye today about the blowback. And Chris, what did he have to say?
Well, you know, Jim, when you look at this whole Melania Trump gate, which is kind of overtaking the political discussion and discourse in this country, you have to ask yourself, does this really sway voters? The fact that the would-be First Lady may have plagiarized, or the person who wrote her speech may have plagiarized. We asked Chuck Todd, is this going to resonate? And number two, what does Team Trump have to do to kind of wipe the slate clean to get their message machine back on track?
So, Chuck, walk us through, for an average voter, should this Melania stuff be meaningful? Is this something you think about in the ballot box, or is this just a distraction from Team Trump in week one?
Look, I don't think it's a big deal at all, except, and it would be a speed bump, except that it comes on top of a pile of mess-ups by this campaign and the party over the last 6 days. So what it turns out to be is emblematic of a larger problem, which is this Trump campaign is it's not very well put together. There are too many things falling through the cracks. Like, the one bright spot was her speech. Last night went way too long. Some of their better speakers got relegated to an empty arena at 11:30. So What this is, it's like on top of what already, oh, and I forgot to even mention the dust up in the afternoon. You know, so it was one of those, you're like, and then they couldn't even get this right?
And so is this a signal of what a President Trump would look like? They say that convention campaigns are precursors, right?
Well, I can tell you this, you have no other way to judge someone on how they're going to run the government, really, than on how they run their businesses or run their campaigns. And right now, if you're just judging Trump on how he's, if you're using the campaign to see that's how he's going to run the government, then he's got a lot of work to do. So I think this is why the Melania thing matters.
So for folks who are in the middle 20 percentile who are watching these conventions, trying to make up their mind, is this even a blip on the radar, this whole Melania
I
thing?
think here's the thing, totally goes away because Thursday night is still the night that matters the most at any convention.
That's what we'll remember when this is all over.
It always is, but the pressure's on them to run a much better convention the next 3 nights.
There's a theme that's not good here.
Exactly, and so that's the thing they've got to worry about. They have an opportunity to turn it around. If he has a great Thursday night speech, that can paper over a horrendous convention. So it just puts more pressure on him. Then again, this campaign has basically been a one-man show from the very beginning, and it's been more successful than not.
Chuck, thanks very much.
You got it, brother.
And so the family affair will continue tonight, Jimmy. Last night was Melania. Tonight, Trump's daughter and his son, Don Jr., will speak, as well as CHRISTIE. We'll also hear from Speaker of the House, Paul Ryan, and former competitor on the campaign trail, Dr. Ben Carson.
Chris, here's a question for you, and I know you and I talk about this a lot, but I'm curious, what will that speech be like on Thursday night? In this vein, Chris, is it going to be ad lib, off the top of his head? They say he's best when Donald Trump speaks that way. Is it going to be off the prompter? I mean, in form, what do you think?
Boy, it's a hard question. The one thing we know is it will be fact-checked and it will be searched to see if any phrases were used before. That is a lock. But I think they have conditioned him at this phase of things to put it on a teleprompter. He doesn't particularly perform as well when he's reading. He is far better when he's ad-libbing and reacting to these crowds, and this will be a very favorable crowd for him. I think the key is the message. Can he warm himself up to voters, people who are maybe still on the fence, as the final night of the convention on Thursday, when he really becomes the centerpiece of everything in the Republican Party?
Thanks, Chris. And when we come back at 7, we caught up with New Jersey Governor Chris Christie, who speaks tonight. And we'll hear what he had to say about Governor John Kasich being a no-show at his own home convention. Plus, why Hillary Clinton said last night's RNC, well, it was like watching The Wizard of Oz. That's next. It is all a formality right now on the convention floor on night number 2. The roll call continues, but Donald Trump is over the top. He's passed 1,237 delegates needed to be the nominee for the Republican Party. He got that with his home state of New York about 35 minutes ago. Now, the convention is bringing plenty of famous faces to Cleveland, and most of them join Russ on Channel 3 News at 5 throughout the convention. And, of course, political powerhouses are here, too. Now, New Jersey Governor Chris Christie, Russ, he is being described, and I don't think he would like this, as the second runner-up to be the Vice President of the United States, but he's here tonight.
I don't think he would like that at all.
I don't think so.
But the truth is, he was one of the first major Republican players to endorse Donald Trump.
Yeah, absolutely. And Channel 3's Maureen Kyle caught up with Christie this morning. He talked about his respect for Governor Kasich and about his decision not to attend the convention.
And John's a person who makes his own judgments, and he has the right to make his own judgments. Those are his calls. He's the governor of this state and a good friend, so that's totally up to John.
When we asked if he thought there would be any surprises at tonight's convention, he said, it's Donald Trump's Republican National Convention, so surprises will always be around the corner.
That was pretty cool that Maureen got him this morning.
Yeah, now, this should be quite a speech tonight because, I mean, he can deliver a big speech. Remember, he was a courtroom prosecutor, so he has spoken to juries and convinced them. I think this hall will be ready for him tonight.
Interesting to see his son was the one that came to the podium or to the microphone from New Jersey to announce the delegates. Unfortunately, not going to Dad in that situation.
That is true. That is true.
To Trump.
Another interesting night here, certainly. Hillary Clinton called the first day of the Republican National Convention surreal. She spoke during her address to more than 6,000 public sector workers in Las Vegas. Clinton refrained from mentioning Melania Trump's controversial speech, but she did compare Donald Trump's walk to a classic movie.
Last night in Cleveland was surreal. I kept thinking, what's this like? And then I thought, you know, when I was a little girl, I went to see, when they reissued it, the movie The Wizard of Oz.
Clinton also attacked Trump for not releasing his tax returns, and she also declared once again, taking aim at police officers must stop.
All right, so delegates have been spotted all over Northeast Ohio.
They certainly have, and our Jasmine Monroe took a tour of the suburbs to see how the RNC is affecting them.
Earlier tonight, she checked out Beechwood and Independence. Now let's head out to Westlake, where it has been busier since the start of the convention.
Well, here in Westlake, a lot of the same things going on. Lots of delegates and happy restaurateurs. No matter where you go in Cleveland this week, you're sure to spot a bus with delegates stopping to get a bite to eat. And now that the convention is underway, lines at some restaurants may just be a little longer. But Andrew NICOLAYSEN, general manager at the Yard House, says the RNC is just another way to get his business's name out there.
Most of the delegates probably don't have a Yard House in their community, so when we potentially go there, they'll be like, oh, I was in one in Cleveland.
And delegates enjoyed their time here at the Yard House. Now they're headed back downtown to enjoy more of the convention. Reporting from the Akron-Kent Mobile Newsroom, I'm Jasmine Monroe, Channel 3 News.
I know my friends who have been here for the convention since last week, really, setting up, are talking about how fantastic the restaurants are. They're very impressed.
Yeah, well, that's good to hear because, I mean, that was one of our big pushes, wasn't it? When we were making the pitches and going through the whole elimination process.
We have quite a food scene, but, you know, when you get folks from out of town, it's always reassuring to see that they see the same things we see.
Well, it's good that they're also so spread out and going all over the suburbs and not just here in downtown.
So spending money everywhere.
I mean, if you're a downtown Cleveland restaurant owner, I'm sure you didn't like me saying that, but that's okay. We're going to spread it all around. All right, Russ and Sarah, thanks very much. Security, protesters, and politics. How Cleveland is handling the political spotlight. We're going to have a candid conversation with Ohio's Attorney General Mike DeWine. He's coming up next. Plus, how hula skirts are playing a big role in protests against Trump when the news at 7 live from the RNC continues. His job is to protect Ohio's families, and that is a difficult job in these times. And tonight, Ohio Attorney General Mike DeWine joins me to talk about the big issues facing our state. Thank you very much for being patient and
Good
coming
to be
in
here
tonight. What a week for Cleveland.
What a great week. You know, Fran and I have walked all over town, and you see happy people. Delegates love Cleveland. I've never seen downtown look as good.
Yeah.
You see a lot of the restaurants. People are talking about different food, and so I think it's been a great promotion, not only nationwide, but, you know, we have a lot of Ohio delegates down here who don't get to Cleveland very often.
No, that's right. And I'll tell you what, so the reviews are very good. Let's get to the issues here. Would you have ever thought that this would have happened, what happened 40 minutes ago when Donald J. Trump would become the Republican nominee for president? I mean, before he went down to the lobby of Trump Tower and said, I'm going to try and make America great again, would you ever have thought that this was realistically possible that it could happen?
No, you know, in the last year I found out how little I know about politics. Nobody. No.
What do you think?
Except Donald Trump.
Yeah, what do you think did it besides, as I described earlier, this guy's got an amazing ego, and he's got a fire in his belly, and he says he says a term that I think people want to feel good about America again, and he's got a message to make it great. Now, whether or not he can do it, we'll see.
Well, he does, but I think that there's a message here. The fact that Bernie Sanders got so many votes, that Trump got so many votes, that early on you had people that couldn't decide whether Bernie Sanders or Donald Trump. I mean, it tells you, I think, how upset people are. And it's the middle class, people who think they've been squeezed. They're not really advancing as far economically. A lot of things going on. So I think it's a message, I think, to anybody who runs for office that, you know, you need to be listening to the people.
I want to ask you this. In the powers of Attorney General, Could you ever become a mediator, which it seems like we almost need now for Ohio's governor and the Republican nominee to sit down and hash this thing out? There are Ohio's, as we always know, in a general election, it is a huge state to get. You got to have it.
Got to have Ohio. The last poll out, it was 40-40. 1/5 of the voters had not decided in Ohio. So Trump needs to carry Ohio, has to carry Ohio. It may determine the election who carries Ohio. So, I think what he has to do is be able to plug into the very good statewide organization and need more communication on his part and his people's part, with the statewide organization.
Real quickly, Mr. Attorney General, there was another police shooting. We're getting reports today in Kansas City. How does this affect you as you watch this? And this is your job, as I said at the beginning of the interview, to keep everyone safe in your state.
Well, our job also is to work with the police. We have a crime lab that they take evidence to. We do crime scenes. And they're really our customer or their client. I think what's scary about this, being a police officer is dangerous. And
yes,
it's inherently dangerous business. They pull over someone, they don't know who's in there, they don't know if they've got a gun, what's going to happen.
Right.
But what's different is police officers being targeted because they're police officers. And I think that's what is just so very, very scary for all of us.
You're absolutely right. Thank you very much for spending a few moments with us, and continue to a great week here in Cleveland.
It's been a great week for Cleveland.
Attorney General Mike DeWine. Now, we have seen plenty of unusual sights around Cleveland this week, including this one, the Trump Hut, which is shaped like Donald Trump's hair. And it's on full display in Willard Park today. It's made of 98 hula skirts and a wooden frame. The group who came up with the idea expects to bring the Trump Hut to the Democratic National Convention. That's next week, convening in Philadelphia. The creators say they wanted to protest the luxurious life Donald Trump lives. Well, it's probably a little too hot to sit in the Trump Hut this afternoon. Let's go inside to Betsy Kling and get a check on what we have in store for the remainder of the week. Hi, Betsy.
Hi there, Jimmy. Yeah, things are going to be heating up as we head through the rest of the week. It's been a warm day today. We made it into the 80s across the area, and now tonight we will be cooling off. Finally, that drier air is here. Although lakeshore communities, you're likely to stay on the humid side thanks to Lake Erie, but upper 50s and low 60s to start the day tomorrow. Mostly clear skies will be the rule. We've got clear skies to the north of us, but stormy weather in the central portion of the country as a heat dome begins to build, and that heat dome is really going to put the heat to us, especially as we head through the end of the week. Tomorrow, partly cloudy to sunny skies on the west coast. The hottest temperatures inland in the desert areas, 109 for Vegas and also Phoenix, 93 tomorrow in Denver, with partly cloudy skies, 100 in Salt Lake City, upper 90s to around 100 throughout the plains. That's the heat that is building. That will move east as we go through the rest of the week and toward the weekend. So yes, even though we have only upper 80s and low 90s along the Mississippi River Valley, that will then we'll see those temperatures rising, and then those warming temperatures will continue to move eastward, where we have temperatures tomorrow that are expected to be in the low to mid 80s along the east coast. Here in Northeast Ohio, your Window Nation forecast has us topping out tomorrow in the middle 80s, 84 the expected high. Warmer farther south though, 90 on Thursday, and then the heat really gets here. Now, along with this heat, the pattern that is setting up could bring us thunderstorms from the northwest. These thunderstorms form on the northern edge of this heat dome and slide to the southeast. So we'll have to keep an eye out for that. That's basically the gist of our storm chances. But now it looks, Jimmy, like we are going to have to deal with the low and potentially mid 90s all the way through the weekend, not really cooling off all that much until we get into Monday, and then right back into the heat on Tuesday.
All right, Betsy, thank you very much. With the sounds of earth, wind, and fire in the background, people having a good time. They have their nominee. It's official. Donald Trump is their man. Still ahead, the countdown continues to primetime speakers at the Republican National Convention. What mixed martial arts and Donald Trump have in common. This special edition of Channel 3 News at 7 rolls along right now. We get to the speeches tonight. UFC President Dana White will address the crowd. That will happen at 8 p.m. White has expressed extreme gratitude to Donald Trump for helping the UFC succeed. Boy, I'll say, sold for $4 billion last week. Trump hosted the mixed martial arts competitions at his Trump Taj Mahal casino property when other venues shunned that sport. So he speaks tonight. And then the spotlight, of course, will be on the Speaker of the House, Paul Ryan. That will happen tonight at 9:23. Big speech for him. A lot of people thought maybe after being Mitt Romney's partner on the ticket 4 years ago that he might consider a run this year. He opted for instead to be the Speaker of the House. That will do it for us. Thanks for watching. America's Got Talent is coming up next. NBC's coverage of Night 2 of the Republican National Convention begins at 10. Then stay with us. That will be followed by Channel 3 News at 11. Constant updates on our app and at WKYC.com from the Convention Hall. Good night, everybody.
Thanks for watching Channel 3 News. Take Channel 3 News and weather with you wherever you go. Text WKYC to 25543 now to download our free apps.